There's this thing happening today. I'm going to get you switched here. If you get to this Padlet, we're going to have some virtual conversations here in a little bit. It's padlet.com/Sarah_Lau at itech.com. But I'm going to have you help me here in a second if you would. But first I want to know, how many of you, this is your first iTech ever? Awesome. I actually did not expect that many of you. And I do recall my first iTech, and I'm going to give you a heads up on this because this might happen to you. I still remember my first iTech ever. I heard things like Wikispaces, this weird Moodle thing, Mashup, all of these things. And I remember after the second session, my head was spinning. I believe I had a headache, and I just wanted to go home and cry because I was so overwhelmed. So here's the gig. Since I have so many new people, I'm going to give you permission today. And this is what I tell teachers in my district. I work for Waverly Shell Rock Schools. But I tell my teachers that came with me today, I said, hey, one thing. Take away one thing from this conference. And when you've got your one thing, commit to that, bring it back, do it well, because you will probably get overwhelmed. I'm just going to warn you right now. Anybody overwhelmed already? Awesome. I have the last session of the day today too, and I might ask you the same question. But if you start to feel yourself getting overwhelmed in this session, I am going to give you permission to be off task. I'm going to give you a resource that has a lot of things that if you feel like, you know what, I'm just going to use this time and space to sit and go look at some things, do it. Do whatever you need to do to get your one thing out of iTech. All right, hopefully I stalled long enough to get you to my Padlet. And here's that favor I'm going to ask you for. All right, these are my parents. They're kind of the coolest thing about me, which is kind of sad that my parents are way cooler than I am. This is my mom, Diane, my dad, Mark, and those are my two kids, Tate and Lucas. That picture is actually about 2 years old, so they're older than that picture. My parents are actually world champion pickleball players. Does anybody know what pickleball is? Sweet, like 6 of you know what pickleball is. Awesome. If you don't know what pickleball is, it is actually becoming one of my favorite sports too. My kids have been playing since age 3, so maybe someday they'll be cooler than me also. But today happens to be the World Huntsman Senior Games, and my parents are down in Utah competing for the gold medal for pickleball today. And I believe they play in about an hour. So I was wondering if you could help me. Their names are Diane and Mark. And I was wondering if you could help me give a shout out to Diane and Mark. The thing about my parents is they don't understand tech at all. In fact, they just got their first smartphone this summer. I happened to go down for 2 weeks with my boys, and they said, okay, Sarah, if we're going to do the smartphone thing, we have to do it while you're here, and you have to give us a workshop every day. So every day we did a little one-on-one with my parents, and now they have their smartphones. So here's my favor. I'd like to give a shout out to my parents. And so I'm going to ask you in a second here to stand up. I'm going to get my video camera going. I'm going to ask if you'll say with me, good luck, Diane and Mark. So if you can, put your device down a second. I'm going to have you stand up. They have no clue what iTech is either, by the way. All right. I'm going to flip it around here. Try and get y'all in.
I have a selfie stick.
You have a selfie? I've never used a selfie stick. I need a workshop on selfies. All right, here we go. I'm going to say, hi, Mom and Dad, and I'm going to have you all say with me, good luck, Diane and Mark. Hi, Mom and Dad. I know you're playing today at the senior games. I've got some people here that have a message for you.
Good luck, Diane and Mark.
Awesome. Thanks. Awesome. Thank you. I will send that to you later. And if I see you later today, you can ask me how they're doing. I'll give you the update. The thing with my parents, they not only play pickleball, but they are world travelers. In fact, when I was a little girl, my first 3 years of life, I lived in Africa. And my dad had the opportunity to study Gorillaz. Back in the day when Jane Fonda was studying Gorillaz, he had a chance to work with her. Or, excuse me, Jane Goodall. And you're going, really? Jane Goodall, he had the opportunity to work with her. And that was back before she was famous and all of that. And he ended up passing it up He got another opportunity to work with game elephant, committed to that. That fell through, and he worked with field pheasants, so totally anticlimactic on that. So anyway, last year they decided to kind of relive that, what could have been, and they went back to Rwanda and spent time with the gorilla. So these were my parents last year, hanging with the gorilla. In fact, one of the gorillas ended up grabbing my dad's leg, which he said he had his whole life flash before his eyes. The gorilla basically was messing with him and went on its way. But anyway, my boys have not traveled overseas yet. So the first thing I did after showing my boys these pictures is I came here and I showed my boys firsthand some gorilla. Showed them this video.
It's just getting shown up, obviously, it's a way to get rid of that anxiety. It's truly scary, like it's just charges in there. It's so deployed, but we were just throwing at each other, they're not just throwing at us. Watch your videos again.
Fascinating video if you want to watch it later. But my boys have not been anywhere international. Now, me being a kid that grew up in Africa, I had this passion for travel. In fact, I decided to become a Spanish major. So I'm a tech coach now who was a Spanish major, ESL minor, and my whole passion in life was to live overseas. I fell in love with dancing. I'm actually very, at least I self-proclaimed good at Latin dancing, salsa, merengue, bachata, cumbia. Any dancers in the room? All right, we could do, yes, a little bit. I love dancing. So my plan for life was I was going to come back, get my degree, live overseas, and never come back to the States ever again. And that didn't happen, and I'm in tech, go figure. But anyway, my boys have not had that chance to travel. And the more I'm in classrooms in my district, I work K-12, I go into these rooms, and I just keep thinking these kids have to have these experiences. They may not have parents like mine, they may not have opportunities like mine to travel, but my kids and other kids need these experiences. So I started researching for my teachers. I already knew they did some units on Africa. My teachers were doing units on China, Canada, South America. So I started pulling together some of these virtual resources, and I'm going to share them with you today. A couple ways you can access them. If you had a chance to get to that Padlet, you probably saw this screen. Two things on here, presentation link, if you'd like to follow along there. I'm somebody, when I go to presentations, I love to make myself a copy and take notes right on the presentation. Knock yourself out. If you're somebody that just wants all your resources in one spot, I did include the Google Doc as well. In my resources for my teachers, I ended up pulling together my top 5 favorite resources, so you'll see those at the top. Those are the 5 I'm going to walk you through, but again, you have total permission to meet your own needs in this workshop. So if you see one down below and you're like, hey, I know we teach the Statue of Liberty as some content, go ahead and scroll down and completely go off task and look at that, knock yourself out. I'm going to take a second here because I am going to ask you to use Padlet throughout this. And I'm going to have you practice using Padlet by giving me a shout out. Who's in the room? Where are you from? What do you do? How many of you know how to use Padlet? Okay, help those around you if they're new to it. So give me a shout out.
Just double click on and now you've got a box. Well, that's, it's going to move. And you put a title on it. And page description and start and scroll.
And you may need to refresh to see if yours is live.
So, that's your.
And it'll create a pattern. It's like it's, just somewhere on. Yeah.
Quick shout out for Padlet. Padlet is one of my favorite back channel tools. I use this a lot with kids and adults in terms of getting some syncing from them. I know a lot of people are not comfortable sharing out in a group, but this gives everyone a voice in the room, so definitely consider using it with kids. Before I got into the tech realm, I taught 7th grade Lit for Waterloo schools. Any Waterloo teachers? Yay! Which school? Lou Henry. All right, connected to Hoover, where I taught. And I taught middle school, and I use this with my middle school kids, and you can imagine the first time what happened. We had some pretty inappropriate comments, definitely things I was pretty shocked and embarrassed to have up on my screen. And after that, I thought 2 things. Number 1, teachable moment, because who's going to teach them if it's not us? Hopefully the parents. But number 2, I did a little digging, and in Padlet you can turn on the setting to moderate posts. So if you do have kids that you're not sure about what they're going to post, that's a setting in Padlet. You moderate it, no one sees it till you approve it. All right, go ahead and keep adding yourself there. I'm a firm believer that I do not know everything for sure. I know a couple tricks, but I think together, if we can crowdsource and use all the brains in the room, we'll use Padlet for that space, but together, we are all better. So we'll keep coming back to Padlet, so leave that up on your screen. All right, I'm going to show you a couple of my favorite tools. The first one I'm going to show you is that tool that I use for that Gorillaz video for my boys. This is a great one. If you do have my presentation, the links should be in the presenter notes. If you're looking at the live version, if you just click on Explore Live Animal Cam, that'll pop up. So this is Explore. Pretty user-friendly. If you remember back in the day, remember when they had those live eagle cams? I still remember being in the classroom and the principal coming over the intercom saying, okay, everybody, you've killed the bandwidth. Everyone stop watching the eagles. So we all had to turn it off. Kind of like this. Couple ways to search if you go to live cams, and we'll see how the internet does. You can see different videos of things that are actually live, just like those eagles. You'll also see certain, and I'm searching Gorillaz right now, but if you go, just whatever they have. Some of them you'll notice are actually recorded.
And all of these would be safe for schools? Nothing.
From my experience, I haven't had any problems with that. But if there is a voice in the room that you have some experience too, we'd love to hear from you. So we've got live video feeds, recorded, films, photos, blogs, grants. Here's what I want to do with this. I'm going to let you play a little bit. Like I said, I totally do not want to overwhelm. If anything, I'd like to underwhelm you today so that your head does not explode by the end of iTech. Go ahead and play on here. And what I'm going to ask you to do, when you have an aha moment or an idea or a way to take this back to your classroom, I am going to ask that you share with all of us. So if you could come back to that Padlet and either add to your previous post or just throw on a new one, tell us, how could you use that cam in your classroom? And I'll play some fun background music, give us a little bit of time to play. Talking is encouraged.
Does anyone else having trouble with the internet?
It's not going.
Look around.
Here's a simple, and I'll show you. it'll tell you where it is. This one happens to be Alaska, and it's 8:25 there, and you can see the weather conditions. A lot of these are planted cams that just sit there, so it may or may not have action at the time that you go in.
To signing up at this website? What do I get if I sign up versus not?
I don't know, I haven't signed up, I've only used it free. Feel free to research and let us know. My gut would be you could save some things, but I don't know. About another minute and then we'll show you another resource. Yeah.
Do you have to sign in somewhere?
Not that I know of, no. Now I'm wondering if this finally means finally internet connected or finally a tool I can use. We're hoping it's finally a tool I can use. All right, what ideas? Well, how could you use this in your classroom with your students?
I mean, obviously, any animal research projects that you do, this would be applicable. Any assignments if you're doing prairies or you're going to look at the landscape of an area.
Yep, landscape, animal projects. I have a second grade team of teachers. They did an awesome job collaborating across the district, and they put on a virtual zoo over here, and the kids each research an animal, and they do it virtually. This is a piece of that for them, that the kids find a video of their animal in their actual
What does
habitat.
that look like? So how do they, where do they house that?
Where do they house that? We have iPads 1-to-1 in elementaries, so a lot of it is in keynote presentations, links. We use QR codes to link to
So
information.
they each have their own iPad that they do their thing.
They each have their own iPad, yeah. Or shared. In our K2, we're not 1-to-1, we're 2-to-1. So they have shared iPads. Site for science and math. I do have some museum links that I don't know exactly what you're looking for that might be of interest. Any other ideas, implications for your classroom? Used to teach middle school, I'm really good at wait time. Like awkwardly good at wait time. Yes?
Well, I know I was asked by the first grade kindergarten teachers to kind of enhance their social studies or science curriculum for them, and this maybe would help some of that, and have the students realize that their world is beyond their walls.
Absolutely. Yes, just anytime you can expand that classroom outside of your community. Yep, absolutely. Well, let's keep trucking along because I've got a lot of good stuff for you. This I'm showing you right now is actually a keynote. My middle school social studies department has structured their social studies curriculum around project-based learning. And so what they do is they've actually given their students, they research all these different countries, and then the kids have to do a pitch for the Olympics, for the next Olympic Games. So the kids have to research the culture, the food, the landscape, the economy, the government, and then they have to pitch before a panel of judges why their location is the best for the next Olympics. So this happens to be one I got from Emma, who's the mayor. They have this whole system of like the tourist, I don't know if it's director, I'm sure it's more clever than that, tourist director, whatever, the mayor, Emma's the mayor. So they all have roles for their country. And this happens to be a slide I took for them where they were pitching the location for the different Olympic events. I showed them this tool, 360 aerial panorama. And I showed them how they could actually enhance what they were doing to zoom in. Let's see if I can get the right one here. And look at Sao Paulo from an aerial view. So this site is really good for those aerial, look-down, bird's eye views. Tons and tons of great locations. This works really well on it. We have Chromebooks in my district. We're Chromebook 1-to-1. High school, iPad K6 or K8. And this works on an iPad. You don't have to have the app. Storage is a big deal in our district in terms of apps taking up storage. Works right from the web, and I believe it has an app. Super cool. The kids can drive. You can zoom in. You can get a little music that's preloaded in there. Along the bottom here, you can look at some other different flash screens that actually pulls up different ones from the same location.
Can you kind of say this so that into a presentation?
I was going to bed. Freeze that for a second. And if I have any other ideas in the room, please share them on Padlet or just tell us how you would do it. Because I don't know that you can necessarily download this, you might screen record what you wanted. So I'm thinking of tools like Screencast-O-Matic. Snagit has a good screen recording tool. I have a Mac right now, QuickTime, you can screen record. Anyone else in the room, how would you do that? Okay, let's play with this for a little bit. Go ahead and snoop around if it'll load for you there. Practice zooming in, zooming out. You go to the helicopter, you can look down. We'll see how our Wi-Fi does. Switch it over to the house. And Mom hasn't replied yet. I asked her how the games were going, so she must be playing. All right, what do you think? Implications of this for your classroom? I see someone, 6th grade students participating in future cities competition. Oh, do you just want to say it? Okay,
well,
say
yeah, they're future cities, and so basically that you have to build a city in the future based on some kind of specific issue or problem that we have now. And so the kids have been looking at, we're trying to get ideas from what our current cities now like theirs and what works and what doesn't work. And we've decided to have two-dimensional things or three-dimensional, like I feel like this panoramic, they can go through and focus on different areas, but then make that come alive for them and give them a better idea how they can then take that and build their own city design.
That would have been a lot to type.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. Love those connections. What else? Spanish-speaking countries. Have any for Spain? Yes, I think between all of these, you'll definitely be able to find some for Spain. Pretty confident. I don't know if I've specifically looked for it, but very confident. What else?
I just have a general question. How do you get back to your original Padlet page?
You just have to scroll down that page, scroll up or
okay.
down the one that you're on.
Down really far.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
The things that we post are appearing above.
At the top.
and below.
Oh, yes, sorry, yep. You're new to Padlet,
Thank you.
filters to the top. I'm a very, people that know me well, if you're a colors person, I'm a very gold person, so my lists go down. There is a view on this where you can do scattered sticky notes. So if your brain looks like that, you can do that. Just not my brain, so I cannot do that. The same teacher I was describing to you that was doing this project last year, after watching her and talking about this tool, she said to me, she's like, okay, Sarah, now I also want to send these kids on a web quest. So we've talked about in our district about gaming and gamification. She's like, I want to gamify this, and I want them to all go on their own path, their own journey, own pace, look at what they want. And we talked about, would there be a tool where kids could actually learn all the information on their own, and like I said, this gaming structure. So that's what we're working on right now. But the tool we talked about that would work really well for this, and if you're following my presentation, I'm actually jumping ahead to Zmax. Zmax, anybody use Zmax in here? Okay. Similar to Google Earth, but Google Earth won't work on our Chromebooks. Zmax does. Zmax works on any device I've tried it on. So that's our tool of choice. Zmax, you can set up a free account, and you can make your own little pegs. So we have teachers now that are making their own little pegs. So this example actually comes from one of my high school current events teachers. On the peg, you drop the pin. You can drop the pin in the world based on address, longitude, latitude, or you can just arbitrarily click and drag it. So you could do this for your school too. Once you've created a pin, you can put images, any type of hyperlinks to it, text. So these are all created by that class. At the top here, if you're interested, he's actually written down what the assignment is for those kids.
Is this kind of like a map thing link? Do the pegs work like the buttons on ThingLink?
I don't know ThingLink. Somebody know ThingLink?
It looks like it kind of, I'm trying to figure out what makes this different than ThingLink other than the map. Am I able to search any kind of map?
This map the teacher created.
Oh, so you have to.
And his students.
So you add the map and the kids
Yes.
then can add the pegs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the kids made this. It's not a collaborative site. So what the teacher did, it's Chuck Boozman, he's here today, give him a shout out if you see him. What Chuck figured out is he actually made a classroom account, gave the kids the credentials, and they all went into that account. It's not as nice as like the Google tools where you can all go in and collaborate that way. So that was his workaround for this. So he just created the map. The kids all dropped those pins. So back to that idea of my teacher that is doing the web quest, she's actually going to set, actually the whole team, I shouldn't say she, the entire team of 6th grade teachers, they're going to create this for their kids. They're going to drop the pins, they're going to provide the resources and let the kids go on the web quest. We talked about having the kids create the web quest, and then we talked about quality artifacts. So let this simmer a little bit. I'll play you some background music and add to our Padlet. How could you use Zmax? Either you create, students create. What's that look like for your classroom?
Let me ask you some more about this. I'm a librarian and I had a 3rd grade teacher ask me what kind of app or site would she have her kids use that would reinforce the math skills. And a lot of the things I found were like really countries and states, and that's what she's wanting. She's after like latitude, longitude, like how to read your grade, that sort of thing. Could she load a map that had those kinds of components that the kids could load? How do you create them? Okay.
little tidbit, because I just thought of it. I believe for the free account, you can only have 5 maps. So here's a workaround for you. That teacher I was describing, he actually made an account for each period, class period, because he teaches 5 in a day. So each class period had their own map credentials. And you can just make up Gmail accounts or have your school tech director, whoever makes those Google accounts, if you're a Google school, makes them for you. The other workaround is once you're done with a map, just delete it. Because only 5 can sit in your free maps.
5 free maps.
5
per
free.
email address.
Yes, yep. So delete them out, make a new one, or set another email. All right, what implications, what uses in your classrooms? So it looks like we have a 3rd grade idea. If you want to just tell us to yell it out and I'll stop reading.
In our classrooms, we rotate, and each 3rd grade teacher takes a different continent, and then the kids rotate, and it's cramming a whole continent into just 2 days. So having the powerful things that we want to show them.
Embedded already.
Have it all ready to go.
Yep, absolutely. Let me blow your mind with this. I'm totally picturing too on that map a link to those virtual maps, those other maps. So a link to the Gorillaz in Africa when you're talking about Rwanda. So consider like blending the 2. Idea?
Can you, our 6-12 kids have their own Gmail accounts. Could a student sign up and create their own?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe the reason the teacher did it the way he did is because he wanted them all to show up on one map. But if that's not your concern, absolutely let the kids create them.
Our 6th graders do they call it a country report. And they've been into the library with me the last several years to go over culturegrams. And instead of doing that work on a very spiffy Pinterest type looking handout, they could maybe put their country in an electronic Zmap and put all their information pegged to that instead of a paper handout.
Absolutely, yeah. Great landing place for a bunch of Google presentation links. This teacher, Chuck Boozman, another shout out to him, he's really the one that introduced me to this. He actually uses this for his current events class. And once a week he'll throw up a map. They'll find the current events, they'll pin it where it's taking place in the world. He'll have some certain questions for them to answer. They'll answer the questions with the pin and they'll link to the current events article. So it's all in one nice tidy spot, and then the kids can see visually where these things are happening on the map. So it's super cool, I thought. Cool idea from Chuck. What other ideas?
Okay, I have another question. What's, didn't you say that you were a Chromebook school?
Chromebook and iPad, yep.
So why use Zmaps and not Google Maps? What does this allow you to do that Google Maps doesn't?
Google Earth, we can't download onto a Chromebook. 'Cause we
Oh,
can't
I'm sorry,
download.
you did say that.
And that was we wished when he first found Google Earth, he was so excited, tried it, failed. And so he wasn't about to take every class into the computer lab, because we still have computer lab too.
Yeah,
But that was our reason for Zmaps. But there very well are other tools just like this. And one thing I say to my teachers all the time, and I'll say this to you and give you permission for this too, it is not about the tool. You heard Ramsey talk about that this morning. It's not about the tool. So if it's Zmaps, if it's Google Earth, if it's whatever tool is new today and bright and shiny and wonderful, it's not about the tool. So it's about the idea, the concept of whatever it is you're trying to teach or show the kids. So if you have some other great tools, go ahead and add them to our Padlet. Tell us why you love them. And then you all have permission to hang your hat on a concept idea and not a tool. What other ideas? All right, let's keep rolling. A rounder, these are all very similar. I like to show all of these ones, the 360, a rounder. They're all very similar in terms of having that helicopter aerial view, but I like giving multiple options because sometimes you can't find exactly the city or the location you want in one, so then I just bounce to the next one and try it. So it just gives me more options, more places to go to try it. Huge shout out to the photographers that make these. A lot of them are actually just people interested in photography that are dedicated to this work. And most of these, or all the ones I'm showing you, are free. So this is a rounder. This one, if you click, let's see, destinations. This one I thought was a little more limited in terms of the countries. But again, just another place to go see what they have. I like this one too because it had Mars and the moon. Super cool. So I had fun myself just looking at Mars and the moon and taking a tour of those. I'll click on the moon. I was looking for water in the pictures, and I think these might be not as recent. I didn't see any water. So these pop up with a little thumbnail. If you scroll down, usually they talk about who the photographer is, the person that made it. I'm going to click on the moon. Who doesn't want to walk on the moon? A lot of these are very similar where you control where you go with that zooming. I'll see how our internet does. Well, let you play with this one. Play with the rounder for a little bit. See what you find out. I would have loved to have this when I taught Spanish. My first teaching job was Spanish before language arts and tech. I would have loved to have this in Spanish class. I can just see a lot of implications for any foreign language. All right, let's keep rolling. 360 cities, very similar as well, just that aerial view. Some of these, I really like this one because you can get on the city level and you can walk through a market. So these are more on the ground level. But again, just another option if you're not finding something in the other ones, definitely check 360 cities as well. Google Cultural Institute is completely different. So I'm going to give you a second to get here. You can click on it in my presentation, or just do a search for it, Google Cultural Institute. Anyone familiar with this painting, A Sunday on the Green?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know this. Do you know something special about this painting?
Other than it's hanging up.
I think I heard someone say it. It's completely made out of little teeny tiny dots.
Yeah, I did that.
Who knew? Super cool. Google Cultural Institute, when you get there, has this painting in it. And you can zoom in and see every tiny little dot in the painting. When I showed this to my art teacher, it was like mind blown. We were so excited about this. It is a Google product, which means you get to log in and then you get to customize, as with all of our favorite Google tools. I am logged in right now. So along the bottom, what you'll see that I have 8 saved things because I'm logged in. If you're logged into Google, it'll automatically grab your credentials and your name will probably be in that corner, but I want to show you that painting. Let's see here. What I have. Maybe it's not going to let me see it there. There. Come on, buddy. It's over just behind my reach. I'll play with that in a second. But this is actually pulling from some of the biggest museums in the world. You can find artifacts in there, and I've looked at African rugs, and you can zoom in down to like the fibers of the rug. Super cool. You can search on databases for pictures. There are a lot of historical famous pictures in here. You can search, basically you're searching for a variety of artifacts. If you come up here to explore, there's a drop-down menu there with some featured things. And if you type in whatever it is you're looking for, I'm going to just do the Mona Lisa. It's actually showing you here along the left what medium it pulled that was tagged Mona Lisa, place, person. So it's actually filtering it based on your keyword search. So if I click on the top one, which is photos, you're going to see any photo that was tagged for Mona Lisa. So I'm going to let you go ahead and play with that. One more thing I want to draw your attention to is this compare feature if you're logged in. My art teachers love this. You can pull up 2 pieces of art side by side on the screen so you can look at them side by side and compare them. So play around in there, throw us some ideas as you think of them. Play some African drums. So this is the apple harvest, and right now I'm zoomed clear out, and I'm going to zoom in just to give you a picture of how detailed and how high quality these are. Give it a second to focus. Down into the brush stroke. And I can move around the painting as well. We'll go in a little bit. Said my art teachers love this. So my last question before we all depart for lunch here in our last 5 minutes. you could do one last thing, and on that Padlet, tell me where in the world will you take your students? And with that, have a great lunch, and remember, give yourself permission to take one thing back to your district.